Well, here's something that'll scare Donald Trump. Hi, I'm Scott Ott, and this is Bill Whittle Now. And Bill, there is a column at thehill.com, thehill, Hill.com, from one Douglas McKinnon, who's a consultant, but was also a writer for Ronald Reagan and George H.W. Bush. And basically, he spends about half the column analyzing the possibility that a particular pairing of candidates could happen, could be the nominees, the ticket for the Democrats. And then he, under this headline, basically says this is the teaming that would scare Donald Trump the most.
Okay.
And that pairing is South Bend Mayor Pete Buttigieg with Hawaii Representative Tulsi Gabbard. Before we go any further, what do you think of the prospects of that pairing? Forget, I don't think you're going to think anybody's going to scare President Trump. But what do you just think of that as a team?
I certainly think it's their best shot. I think I've always thought that Pete Buttigieg was really the probably the most electable guy in that entire stage, and that choice of a running mate would cover all the bases. Yes, you're electing a white male, but at least he's gay. So in terms of the identity politics of the Democratic Party, I think that's a good team. And I think another thing they've got going for them is that neither of them appear to be completely, bat guano crazy. They're certainly not. They're certainly more, not only more telegenic, they're just more appealing than Bernie Sanders and crazy Bernie, and you got shrill Elizabeth Warren, who's going to go get me a beer. Joe Biden seems to be fading both in terms of his numbers and in terms of his memory, and on and on and on it goes. So I don't know if it's so much like the combination that Trump should fear the most, so much as it's the combination that I think is the only one that has any significant chance, and I don't think it has much of a chance, to be honest with you.
Well, and Doug McKinnon talks about how the Democrats in the past, the sort of establishment Democrats, have surprised us before. For example, when everybody seemed to be riding on the Howard Dean train, suddenly they turned and nominated John Kerry. When everybody seemed to be riding on the Hillary Clinton train, suddenly they turned and nominated Barack Obama. And so even though now everybody seems to be either on the Joe Biden or Elizabeth Warren train, Pete Buttigieg is coming up in the polls both in Iowa and New Hampshire. Tulsi Gabbard, God bless her, slapped back at Hillary Clinton in a most brutal way. And that, if nothing else, Hillary Clinton may have saved the candidacy of Tulsi Gabbard. Do you think Democrats are ready to go more with a centrist Gabbard at vice president and still a left of center, but not crazy socialist in Pete Buttigieg?
No, I think this is absolutely, if not the best combination, certainly one of the two best combinations. Again, the Democrats really tend to like shiny things and telegenic people. Pete Buttigieg, good-looking guy. He's rational, is calm, he's got a military background. All of these things are great. The fact that he's gay is what puts him over the top as far as Democrats are concerned. We're not going to deal with his actual qualifications for office. We're just talking about electability here.
Well, as far as the far left and progressive Democrats go, but of course the big slap against Buttigieg is that he's doing very poorly. As Saturday Night Live parodied the debate this past weekend and said that he was polling at 0 with black Democrats. And so, that's a weak spot for him, isn't it?
It is. And traditionally, black voters tend to be a little less tolerant of homosexuality than the average liberal Democrat voter does. So that's a problem. And the Democrats need a huge turnout of black America. They need 90%, 85-90% of the black vote in order to have any chance of winning at all. But in a race that is in a party that is absolutely 100% now, for some time now, defined by identity politics, certainly since the 2008 election of Barack Obama. You have to look at this from the Democrats' point of view in terms of what the support among the general population of Democrats would be. And I regret to say that it strikes me that the only way that you can measure how much support any particular Democrat candidate is going to get, I think it's largely comes down to how many boxes can you tick off, you know?
Well, and in this case, with both of these candidates, they have something, well, they have several things that none of the other candidates seem to have. First of all, they have youth. All the leading candidates, Biden, Sanders, Warren, are all septuagenarians, okay? And
absolutely,
so
big deal. That's important.
Two people in their 40s. Number two, they're both U.S. military veterans proud of their service. Both of them, speak of getting us out of these foreign wars to prop up dictators, but they are both military veterans. Number three, they're both very strong communicators and think on their feet on the debate stage. In fact, when SNL parodied Tulsi Gabbard, they portrayed her as Cruella de Vil in a sense that she's got this sort of supreme confidence that she really comes across well. And so this argument that McKinnon is making in this column in The Hill seems to have a little merit if Trump were to be afraid of anyone. And I know we've read this before, but I just got to share this. When Hillary Clinton was suggesting that Tulsi Gabbard was being groomed by the Russians as a third-party candidate a la Jill Stein in 2016, Gabbard fired back at Clinton saying in a tweet, "Thank you, Hillary Clinton. You, the queen of warmongers, embodiment of corruption and personification of the rot that has sickened the Democratic Party for so long, have finally come out from behind the curtain." She went on to say, "Why don't you run for office yourself instead of acting like a coward?" Now, I got to be honest, Bill.
That's going to leave a mark.
I just read that again because I wanted to hear it.
You, the queen of warmongers. It sounds almost like something from behind the curtain. It does almost sound like an incantation that the Wizard of Oz would make. Every silver lining has a dark cloud in front of it. If it were to be this team, I happen to agree with him. I think that combination is by far the most powerful effort that the Democrats could put together for the reasons you named. They're very appealing reasons. Neither of them are out there in the woods with Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren or AOC or all the rest of them, and so. That's the black cloud. The silver lining is that if they became the nominees of the Democratic Party, it would be a sign to me that there's still some degree of sanity there. That if these two people who are coming from the military and certainly represent a post-Clinton, post-Obama crime syndicate start or reboot for the Democrats, while it may concern me as it puts up a probably the most effective challenge in 2020, the good news is at least they seem to be among the most sane of the Democrats. They don't seem to be in the same kind of fringe that the other leading contenders are.
Now, America doesn't have a long history of electing members of Congress, nor of electing small-town mayors to the presidency. But then again, we elected Donald Trump, and so all bets are off. I mean, anything can happen at this point. It's interesting because Senator Kamala Harris tried to go after Tulsi Gabbard in the last debate by criticizing her for sitting down with Bashar al-Assad, the Syrian dictator, and basically accusing her of, sidling up to the enemy. And Gabbard came right back at her and basically said, if you're going to do foreign policy, you need to be willing to deal with both our friends and our enemies. And perhaps that's why you don't understand foreign policy, Senator Harris, and slapped right back. She's a pretty tough cookie who's not going to take things laying down. I got to wonder, Bill, would it be better to go Gabbard-Buttigieg than Buttigieg-Gabbard?
No, I don't think so. I think if Buttigieg were straight, then again, I'm doing the Democratic calculations, not the human calculations that normal humans would do. I think if Buttigieg were gay, then you probably would gain more victimhood points if you were to invert that. Okay. I'm sorry, if he wasn't gay. But since he is, I think his gay card trumps the female card barely. But see, the thing about progressivism is, you've got to constantly be reassuring yourself that you're expanding into new frontiers and not just rehashing the same old tired philosophy that Gaius Gracchus proposed 150 BC to the Roman Senate and ruined the Roman social system by handing out free bread to people. So this idea of first is as important to them as it is to Lyndon Johnson and the space program. It's like, oh, well, think about this. We'd have the first gay president. We'd have the first woman vice president. There's got to be some other things we can tack on there. And so this whole idea of first is important to them. I certainly think that a party that calls itself progressives would be attracted to, a large percentage of them anyway, would be attracted to people who are in their 40s rather than the choice between, octogenarians that you're going to get with a Biden, Warren, or Bernie Sanders combo, which to me sounds like something you would get at Arby's, You
or
should
Tom
eat that
Steyer
stuff.
and Michael Bloomberg, two billionaires who just got into the race. Let me finish up with this question, Bill. This is how McKinnon ends his column at The Hill. Douglas McKinnon, again, former speechwriter for Ronald Reagan and George H.W. Bush, now political consultant. If I were in the Trump White House or campaign, that ticket, Buttigieg Gabbard, that ticket would send chills down my spine. I'll now deal directly with the question I dodged at the beginning. Do you really think that President Trump would have any concern about a ticket like this?
I have to tell you, honestly, Donald Trump has his faults, but I've got to say, I don't think anything sends a chill down Donald Trump's spine. I can't imagine it. I really honestly can't. It's not just, that's not just pep talk or cheerleading or anything. I cannot imagine Donald Trump being afraid of anyone like that in terms of politics or anything. He just seems to be utterly fearless in this regard. To say that he has a great deal of self-confidence is to understate the case. But from the very beginning of this segment, when you said the ticket that Trump fears the most, I did want to end the segment, or at least somewhere get in there, the idea that I don't think Donald Trump fears much of anything.
Well, and that's certainly gotten him where he is today. Anybody who had the normal measure of prudence and caution and fear would never have even run for president from the position that he came from. Ladies and gentlemen, we are grateful for our friends, the members at BillWhittle.com, who have made this show possible. If you'd like to join their ranks, it's a simple thing to do. Just go to BillWhittle.com and click that Become a Member link. You can also listen to us on your favorite podcast app by going to the podcast link at BillWhittle.com. And if you're not yet a member, when you go to the website, you'll see a lot of videos, but you won't really get to tap into this community of conservatives that serves as, frankly, a refuge from the toxic sewer of social media, a kind of support network of friends and encouragers, and frankly, people who aren't afraid of a little humor. And so there's a lot of good times on this website, all of which...
Yeah, or people who are more than willing to agree to disagree over issues. Just the fundamental civility of that is a refuge in this world today.
Absolutely. And all that stuff is behind the veil unless you're a member at BillWhittle.com. You can test drive us for a month if you'd like. It's only $9.95. If you don't think it's well worth your $9.95 a month, then just drop us a note and we will cheerfully and rapidly refund your money. We appreciate the people who have made this possible. So for Bill Whittle, I'm Scott Ott. Thanks for watching.
Queen of warmongers need not apply.
Wasn't that a great tweet?
It's incredible.